Yeah, so Wizard Sciences was basically kind of it was me wanting to just focus on doing the kind of the best R&D I could with the nanoparticles that I had been working with for the better part of, at that point, the better part of a decade, now well over a decade. So I work with carbon 60, which is just it's an allotrope of carbon, just meaning it's another form of carbon. So you've got like graphite and diamonds, amorphous carbon, and fullerenes. And so this specific, fullerene it's a cluster of 60 carbon atoms in the shape of a truncated icosahedron, or as everybody around the world would lovingly call it, a football. So in the US, it's a soccer ball. Everywhere else, it's a football. So that's exactly what it is. It's 60 vertices, which are all carbon atoms forming a little spherical cluster. And so it's kind of this amazing thing when you bind it to fats. Different fats move different places in the body. So I've coupled it with different fats to get it to do different things. Like in the case of the neural serum, it's bound to caprylic acid, which is a carbonate chain. And so when you digest that, it fractionates in your liver, turns into ketone bodies, some of which have the nanospheres attached to them, and then it translocates to your brain. So you get this kind of drop in neural inflammation and a bunch of other benefits. One of the others is bound to oleic acid, which is the main fraction of olive oil. And so that one's a long chain fatty acid. So that goes through your normal digestive process, and a lot of that ends up in skeletal muscle. So, and most of your organs. So it has kind of an athletic effect, because that's a lot of people. It's the product that I use for that are two, Evolve and Olympic RX. And Olympic is the one that at the CrossFit Games that just happened, I think 9 of the 13 first place finishers across all the divisions were taking it, because it really does. It changes the way your body performs. It allows a much higher degree of muscle recruitment. So you appear as if you're tremendously stronger, and it's a dose dependent function. And the reason I know that is because I pulled my hamstring twice and tore the muscles in my lower back in the 2014, 13, around there, while in the process of developing all that stuff, trying to figure out what was going on. And I realized, oh, these Russian guys had done a research paper on this with rabbits, and figured out that there was a dose dependent function. And the more of it you took, the more skeletal muscle activation you could. The paper refers to a thing called super precipitation of skeletal muscle actomycin. And so they found that there was this dose dependent function. So if you take a bunch of it, kind of like Captain America sauce, you can do all these ridiculous things. But the one thing I will tell you is muscles rebound really quickly, and they can also handle a lot of blood flow. And your body downregulates your muscular capacity, say, by a factor of 3 or 4. So normally what you're actually firing is 25 to 30% ish of your muscle fibers. And the only time that you fire more than that is if you're in some rapid sympathetic state. You have kind of a fight or flight response, and your body, in an effort for survival, just triggers everything to fire. But typically you get downregulated and you're only firing at 25 to 30% of your capacity. So you really have a lot more that you can do. But because we're not designed to be running at that kind of like the red line, on the tachometer all the time, what happens is if you use all of that consistently, it puts a lot of strain on all of your joints, and anything that is basically like chondrocyte dependent. All of the connective tissues. You can overtax those. Really, what I recommend to people is, if you're a pro athlete or something like that, and you're going to use it for really amping up your capacity, use pulse electromagnetic fields and red light or lasers on your joints, because they just don't get a lot of blood flow, right? So you want to stimulate the growth and the enhancing of those particular areas. And the best way I found to do that is using pulsed electromagnetic fields and lasers.